Hi guys, welcome to the Dust Builder session number 3. We'll be talking about integrations today. So for that, I'll be starting a little poll for everybody to answer which questions they might, which integrations you guys might want to use. So the unfortunate thing is that you can only choose one choice. I wasn't able to do a multiple choice question. So let's try to just pick the one you prefer. And we'll try to see at least 3 integrations today. I can see that Google Sheets, Salesforce, and Zapier are doing a pretty big contest. We'll see what's going to happen. We'll wait for a few more minutes anyway, because we have for now 60 people online almost. And we're expecting about 100, so we'll wait a few more minutes. So Zapier and make her the winners for now. Ooh, Google Sheets is coming back. Okay, don't hesitate to say anything in the chat. So I see Martin asking for active pieces. The demonstration today is going to be on integrations we already have. So we've built a Zapier integration, we built a Make integration. We don't have an active pieces integration so far, but we've been talking about it because some of our customers are using it. So we might definitely release an active pieces integration in the future. But basically, it's going to work pretty much the same. It's the same idea. So once you get how it works with Zapier, you can make it work with active pieces as soon as we have an integration ready. Make HubSpot front. Awesome. We don't have a front integration yet, so we could do make. HubSpot is a different breed that I'll talk about. Same thing for Salesforce. Okay, so I guess it's 10:04. We can get started. Well, that's a pretty tough decision to take because we don't have a difference between Google Sheets and Zapier. It's 27% each. So we'll start. Okay, let's start with Zapier. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. You guys can keep voting in the poll. I'll just share my screen and don't hesitate to keep voting and we'll see what will be the next integration that we talk about today. Okay, so basically Zapier. So I can show that in Zapier or in Make. It's pretty much the same thing. We have. So if I want to share Make here, we've got a Dust integration, and if I want to share Zapier, we also have a Dust integration. So both work pretty much the same way. These tools, for the people who don't know, are basically workflow automation tools that allow you to generate triggers from different things. So Madia, when you ask what's the difference between Make and Zapier, they're just basically pure competitors. They're just doing the same thing in a different way. You can see that they have a different UI. This is Zapier. This is Make. Make is a lot more about being round, and Zapier is a lot more about being a bit more in the regular boring version, but it's pretty much the same thing. Active pieces, N8N. There's a lot of Pipe Dream. There's a lot of those type of tools. The ones that have been asked for the most to us are Zapier and Make. We're starting to get a lot more requests about active pieces as well. All right, so how do you use? I've prepared a tiny little thing here. main problem with Zapier is that we don't have a paid account, so I won't be able to go all the way to actually run the Zap, but that's just to show you how it works. Basically, what I created here is that I went ahead and I said, okay, detect when there's a new sheet in a spreadsheet. Okay, well, actually, I'll just create it from zero because it seems like some people don't even know what Zapier looks like or what it is. So let's start from scratch to make sure it's clear. Basically, Zapier is a way to create automations. So you're going to start creating an automation, and the pretty nice thing they have is that you can just say what you want to do. So I'm going to say when a spreadsheet row is updated, run a Dust Assistant. So basically, the goal of this step is going to be to detect changes in a Google spreadsheet, and from there, run a Dust Assistant to actually update the data on another cell. So it's telling me, oh, okay. It's telling me spreadsheet.com. That's not the one I want. So I'm going to say Google Sheets. The event in Google Sheet is new or updated spreadsheet row. And I'm going to plug in my account, which I already did. I'm going to find the spreadsheet that I want, which is called Find Nice People. It's just a simple spreadsheet that I created. Worksheet is basically the tab that you're going to be using. Trigger column is the name column. I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that I'm talking about. So this is the spreadsheet I'm talking about. So basically, I've got a name column, LinkedIn URL, and that's pretty much it. Continue. I'm going to test the trigger to see if there's any rows in there. Okay, so it found 2 rows, which is nice. Because that's what we're expecting. It found the row with my name in it. Sorry, I'm not sharing the right screen. So yeah, it found 2 rows, and you can see the row with my name in it. So it's actually connected to the right spreadsheet. All right, so the second step is talk to a Dust Assistant. So I'm just going to add it, and I'm going to connect my Dust account. So I don't remember which one it is. I think it's this one. And I'm going to make sure I have, yeah. So I've got an assistant here that's called People Finder, which is the one I'm going to be using. So for the people who don't know Dust too much, I'm going to show you how it works. So I'm switching to Dust and trying to find my People Finder. Okay, so I created a very short assistant for this demo, which is a marketing specialist that from a first name and a last name is able to find the LinkedIn URL. My goal is just to say, okay, I'm going to type people's names, and I'm going to get the LinkedIn URL directly. So there's just a few instructions to get the LinkedIn URL. And in the tools section of my assistant, the main part that I added is that I gave it access to the internet. That's it. I didn't add any specific tools from our own data. So that's what this Zap is going to be using. All right, going back to the Zap. Basically, this is the message I'm going to send to the assistant. So find the LinkedIn URL for, and I'm going to add the name that I found in the spreadsheet. So if I click the little plus here, it gives me the first few things that it found in the row of the spreadsheet. So it could be the row ID, the row number, some content hash, whatever. But I said that I was looking for the name, so I'm going to add the name of my spreadsheet of the user. It's asking me a username and an email, which is basically how Dust works. Whenever you post a message to an assistant, you need to give it a username and an email. So I'm just going to say that's me. Yep. And the assistant is People Finder. We already saw that. So here it is. It's ready to send the message, find a LinkedIn URL for Alban. I'm going to test the step and see what the assistant is answering. Let's hope it finds my LinkedIn URL. Okay, so here I'm getting a bunch of weird messages, which is basically the answer of our API. There's a lot of stuff in there. The only thing you need to care about in that specific use case is the agent message. This is the answer of your agent. The conversation URL, I can copy and paste it if I want. If I actually open the conversation, I can see the actual conversation that's been happening in Dust. So here it is. This is the actual answer. The problem you can see in that answer is that there's too many information. It's not giving me just the LinkedIn URL as I asked. This is something that the Claude model does a lot. It's really talkative. So if you want to switch to something that only will be answering exactly when it needs to answer, maybe you want to switch the assistant to GPT-4. All right, so here's the agent message that I got, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to add a last step. And the last step is going to be to update the row. So I'm going to say update the spreadsheet row. Okay. I'm going to find the good spreadsheet, the right worksheet, and the row that I want to update. So I'm going to update the LinkedIn URL with the answer of my assistant. And if I test my step and I go back to my spreadsheet, you can see that it's been updated with what the assistant answered. Okay, so I see a few questions. Fanchon, what's the advanced settings on Dust? So basically, whenever you're creating, let me come back to Dust. Whenever you're creating an assistant, Dust is model agnostic. So we provide you with a default model, which is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and you can decide to change it. So basically, when you're writing your instructions, when creating your assistants, you have an advanced settings mode here that you can open, and you can say, okay, I don't want to use Claude. I want to use GPT-4, or I want to use Mistral, or I want to use one of the other ones like Gemini, or a smaller one to go faster, Gemini 4o Mini. So yeah, that's basically the main difference. Let's try again. So here, my people finder assistant. If I call it directly in Dust with my name, it's going to do exactly what we just did, which is going online, trying to find my LinkedIn URL and answer pretty much exactly the same way we just saw. So this is Claude. Claude is answering with a ton of things. It's never going to just give me the LinkedIn URL. So if I want to change that, I'm going to edit my assistant. I'm going to move it to GPT-4, for example, or any other one, and I'm going to try again. So people finder, same thing. So now it's GPT-4 that's going to be answering, and the main thing that you can see is that there's not that big weird purple square that you just saw, and there's not, hey, here is what I did to find Alban's LinkedIn. It's just answering LinkedIn because we asked to answer only that. So that's the main difference we can see between GPT-4 and Claude. We believe Claude is a lot better in a lot of situations. That's why we put it by default in all assistants when we create it. But when you want very short answers, it's not that big. So yeah, for that type of situation, maybe definitely GPT-4 might be the best solution. Can we add our own LLM? Well, Remy already answered, but no, we don't have a way. Like for now, we provide the models for all assistants. Let me go back to a few more questions. The username and email is for traceability. Yeah, basically we've got a workspace usage API that you can test. And so yeah, it's for traceability and also for the little the actual conversation, knowing exactly who talked. But yeah, the main thing I haven't talked about yet is that when you're creating an integration on Dust, you are going through an API key. So here, right before the webinar, I created an API key for this demo, and the API keys are not tied to users for now. They are scoped to what we call vaults, which will likely change names, but basically, whenever you create an API key, we don't know which user is using it because it's a system key. It's tied to a specific part of the data that you can use in Dust, but it's not tied to a user. So that's why we're asking for a username. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So just to make sure you guys understand how things work for integrations. Whenever you create an integration, so being Zapier or Make or anything, the first time you actually install the Dust integration, you're going to be asked for a workspace ID and an API key. So you're going to have to go in that little cog icon here, then API keys, and that's just available for admins of your workspace. So if you're not an admin of your workspace, you're not going to see that menu. But if you're an admin of your workspace, then you can create an API key. You click on it, demo API key. You're going to scope it to one of the areas of your one of the vaults, but again, it's going to change names. And there we go. That's my API key, workspace ID, API key. And I can use that to start hitting my my data. So for the ones that wondered if I just created a security flaw by showing you the API key, just make sure that it's revoked now and you're not going to be able to use it. Could you run an extra step in Zapier to clean the output, like asking the model to remove everything except the URL? Definitely, you can absolutely run a new assistant that just does that. But I guess the best way to do it is to choose the model that might just answer correctly at the right time. Is it possible to make Claude return a structured response when querying through the API? So we don't have structured outputs for now. The main way to do that would be to create a Dust app, but that's a way different question. Okay, so let's go back to Zapier. We can then update the row. Well, that's already done. I showed you. So yeah, we could do pretty much the same thing with Make. You could just say, okay, for example, because I just showed you how to talk to an assistant, but also in Dust, the important thing is that you can import your own data. So maybe you want to import data when something happens. So Make works pretty much the same. I can say, okay, in Google Sheets, when let's say Google Docs, actually. When watch documents, when a new document appears, let's say I want to add it to, meet recordings, for example. Okay, that's a pretty good use case. Let's say I've got a new meeting recording that shows up because I'm using Google Meet's transcripting. So whenever you are on Google Meet and you enable your transcripts, it's going to create a file in your Google Drive in the Meet recordings section. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Well, I'm just going to pick all for the demo. So that's module. That module here is watching documents that appear in the Meet recordings drive. So it's just waiting for my Google Meets to end, and whenever the transcription appears, it's going to trigger that module. So the next thing I need to say is, okay, I want to push the Google Meets to Dust. So I can say, okay, I'm going to use Dust and just upload the document in the folder name, which is going to be meetings, for example. The document ID is going to be the actual document ID from Google. And the document content is going to be, I don't know, I need to find, if I can, the demo might just go down right now because I don't know if I can find the actual content of the document. I haven't tried that before. Capabilities, permissions. Okay, I'm not going to find it. There must be a way to find the actual content of the document. I just don't see it right now. But basically, let's say you add another module or whatever, or you find the right permission. You get the document content. This is my content. And you can upload it to Dust. So here, the important thing here is that the folder name that I'm saying, it needs to be an actual folder in Dust. So whenever you're in Dust, you need to go to your knowledge tab, your company data, or your vault, depending on whatever your API key is scoped to. Go into folders and create it. So here I would need to create a meeting folder. And that's where my my transcripts are going to be uploaded whenever whenever Make gets new content from Google. Okay, so just heading back on the questions for a bit. Is it possible to use Dust API in a SaaS for my customers? So we don't have a special plan for that. It's definitely possible because you can build anything on the API. Main thing you need to know regarding our limits is that on a regular Pro plan, we limit, well, let me show you the documentation actually. Okay, I can't seem to share. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. So here are our rate limits for the API. So basically, you have access to 100 messages per user of your workspace per day, which means that if you have 3 users on your workspace, you have a shared total of 300 messages per day. So if you put that on a customer-facing app and it goes above that, your workspace is going to be blocked for that day for 24 hours. If you're in a bigger company and you have an enterprise plan for us, then we have specific pricing you can talk to us about. Because if you want to build really something that's going to be heavy on token consumption, then we need to talk on a different scale. Could you show an example where we have a trigger from Google, HubSpot, or whatever, and then uses a RAG from a vector database to return an answer? If the answer is very large, do you hit character limits? Okay, so basically the RAG is that's not the main purpose of this webinar, because the RAG is the actual core of Dust. That's what Dust is doing. Whenever you create an assistant, let me show you an assistant that has, okay, so this one, for example, this is an assistant that has access to our Zendesk tickets and is doing RAG whenever it's answering. So there's no difference in what I showed in Zapier between searching online for LinkedIn URL or searching in your data with RAG. It's just a core feature of Dust to add RAG to your assistants. So you just, instead of ticking that box here, the web search box, we just added a search tool. We selected from data sources, whatever, and wherever it should search in. And then the answer is going to be happening from there. So the RAG is completely transparent. You don't need to change anything to what I just showed. Is there the difference is that if the answer is very large, you're going to hit the LLM output context window. So basically, outputs are limited in LLMs, so we won't be able to answer more than that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What if we upsell? So we don't have an affiliate program right now, but that's something we're actively thinking about. So don't hesitate to contact us about it, and we'll come back to you later. Okay, let's go back to the poll. Zapier is done. The next winner is Google Sheets. All right, let's go to Google Sheets. Okay, so basically for Google Sheets, we've built, so for now, it's not an actual plugin, but that's something we're working on publishing. For now, it's a script that you have to just add to your spreadsheets. But let me show you how things work. So basically, we have a GitHub repository with a lot of integrations that we can talk about as well on it. One of them is called Google Spreadsheet. So if you open that, then there's a bunch of instructions on how to use our Google Spreadsheet integration. But what it is mainly is that you have to enter that Dust app script here, copy paste everything, and copy paste it in a script when you open a Google Sheet. So basically how this works is that you're going to click on extensions here, app script, and this is opening a new tab. I copy pasted the script. I'm not showing the API key that's on top, but that's pretty much it. That's really it. You copy paste the script, you change the API key that's here with yours, and that's it. That's done. It works. So basically, now you can come back to the sheet where you clicked on extension and app script, and now you have a new capability in your script, which is to call the Dust function. So you can say, okay, add Dust, equal Dust, and it's going to ask you for an assistant name, a prompt, and an input. So here we've got the demo that I'm doing is to fill up a security questionnaire automatically. So the goal here is just to go do some rack and actually, answer for us without having for us to pick our brains about what to answer. So we've got an assistant called Security Sam that has everything it needs to answer any security question about Dust and our infrastructure. So answer concisely. That's the instructions that I give it. And the last thing is that it needs the column. So there we go. Answer concisely A3. And here you can see that it's actually loading. So it's talking to our API. All right, so our security SAM seems a little bit broken. Oh no, it's asking A3. Yeah, A3. How do you handle data breaches? All right, maybe somebody changed our security SAM. Just give me a second. I'll just go see if we have one with a better name that can answer. Security sheet. Okay, let's try with security sheet. Maybe the answer is going to be a little bit better. There we go. Okay, I just picked the wrong assistant. It's called Security Sheet, the one that can answer correctly. So now what I need to do is just to pull that and answer all the questions. Woo! And that's going to be taking me 10 seconds or whatever it takes to answer everything. So we can see that the answers are starting to pop in. And there we go. My security questionnaire is pretty much filled. I don't have anything else to do. I just have to remove the parts where it was about a title and I don't care about the answer. And that's it. There we go. We've got our answers. Okay, let me open the chat because I can see that there's a few questions. So basically, what's the data behind? It's what I showed. It's doing RAG. So we plugged our Notion pages. We plugged whatever knowledge base you can have, and we told the assistant to go search in it to answer the question. So what Dust is doing when we're doing RAG, we've got different types of tools that we can add to assistants. And here in this specific use case, the tool that we're adding is a search tool, and we're not doing a keyword search like Google. We're not Google. We're doing semantic search. So semantic search is basically searching on the meaning of the content and not on keywords. So we're going to search for the meaning of the question. So here, do you provide security training to employees? We're going to search anything about providing training to employees. We're going to find the right spots in our documentation, in our Notion pages, in our Slack channels to see if we provide training. We're going to pull what we call chunks of data. So we pull up to 32 chunks of data, and we send that to the LLM, and then the assistant has the data and has the instructions to be able to answer the question. So that's why it goes super fast and it answers exactly, concisely, whatever is needed. Can you query and column with the results of another Just formula? That's too much Excel specific for me. I'm a developer. I'm not a big Excel user, but I guess, yes, you should be able to query a column from the result of a formula. Does the integration has an impact on the reactivity latency of the Gsheet file? Same thing. I'm not an expert, so if you have a lot of rows, it might. But the main thing I want to point on this extension, and that what's very dangerous for first-time users, is that the limits apply. So yeah, I saw questions about it. I saw a question. So it's the same thing. It's like you have an API key, you plugged it, so the rate limits apply. So you still have 100 messages per user per day on your workspace. And what I just did here is that I used 19 messages. I used from 2 to 21. That's 19 messages that just went through our rate limit. So if you have a Google Sheet with 10,000 rows, you're going to break your workspace. If you're an enterprise customer and you want to do that, contact us and we'll see pricing or whatever, raising the rate limits or anything you need. Just be aware that this script can re-break your workspace if you work on too many rows. Is it possible my assistant cannot reach all the information my data sources contain? 10,000 docs in the folder. Well, the main thing is that why we do assistants is that we don't want you to plug all your files of your entire workspace to an assistant. Assistants should be a little bit specialized. Basically, they should access the right information. Our goal here is to find the right piece of data in your 10,000 documents. But if you give it 300 documents instead of 10,000, it's going to be a lot better. So yeah, try to make a little bit more work before sending the data. If there's nothing else you can do than sending the 10,000 because you have no idea what it is, you don't have like a hierarchy or whatever, then yeah, send the 10,000, see if it works, but it's going to be not as good as if it had less data. Sorry, I'm going to skip a few questions because the chat is bubbling a lot and I have a hard time watching everything. But API pricing, blah, blah, blah. Do we have a way to track API limits and usage? We have a way to track usage. We don't have a way to show you the rate limiting for now, because it's a sliding context window. It's a sliding window of 24 hours, so it's going to change a little bit, but that's for number of messages. But if you use the API to upload documents to Dust, then the rate limit is pretty different. It's 120 documents per minute. So same thing, if you want to upload a lot of documents, you're going to be blocked for a minute, but then the next minute you can upload another 120. So So that should be fine. Okay. Do we have any other questions on Google Sheets for now? We're pretty much a bit more than halfway in the webinar. I'll open the poll again then. Next one is meeting transcripts. All right. So meeting transcripts, you have different ways of doing it. Basically, meeting transcripts is something that you guys need to ask us to activate in your workspace, because it's not active by default, because it's still a beta feature. We're starting to have a lot more customers using it, so we might end up releasing it for real. But for now, we just have 2 meeting transcripts integrations that are native, but we might add more in the future if you guys are asking for it. So how it works is that whenever it's activated in your workspace, you can click on your profile picture and you have a little beta thing here with transcript processing. You can click on it, and then you're going to have to connect your provider. So to connect your provider, you just click on it and click the comment button. It's super easy. Then it's going to ask you to log in to Google or to Gong or whatever you picked. And then you're going to see this little thing here, and you have to choose an assistant. So what you want to do is that you want to process your meeting transcripts. So if you use something like Gong, for example, you're going to have a meeting summary at the end of your meeting. If you use just Google Meet, you won't have anything. You will just, and you use the transcriptions during Google Meet, you will just get your Google Meet full transcript in your Google Drive, and that's it. And so that's where it gets really interesting to add an assistant. So I was searching for an assistant that's called Transcript Summarizer, but I'm in the demo workspace and we don't have it. So let's say I want to translate all my meeting in Spanish. So there we go. I've got an assistant called Translate Spanish that's translating everything in Spanish. And I'm just going to pick it and enable it, and that's it. Whenever I'm doing a Google Meet with transcription enabled, I'm going to receive by email the transcripts that have been processed by my assistant. So if your assistant is just doing a summary with key actions, whatever, notes and who needs to do what after the meeting, you're going to receive that. But the good thing with Dust compared to other solutions about that is that you can really tell your assistant to do whatever you need and use RAG as well. So if you want your assistant, let's say you're monitoring a sales call and you want your assistant to analyze a sales call depending on your runbooks from Notion or from Google Drive, like your PDFs or whatever. You can ask it to analyze the call and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I miss? Did I talk too much? Et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to just say that you want to summarize, which is the case of a lot of other tools like Fireflies or Fathom and stuff like that, which are basically doing some meeting summaries more than meeting analysis. Does it mean that you need to activate transcript from Google Meet? Yeah, absolutely. We won't be able to, if you activate meeting transcripts from Dust and you use Google Meet, you're going to need to activate the transcription in your Google Meet. If you don't activate it, we won't get a transcript, so we won't be able to process it. We have in the pipes to look at how to actually make a Dust meeting recorder or something a bit more specific, so it can avoid going through Google Meet. But for now, that's how it works. And one of the main things as well of Google Meet is that currently, but it's going to change. Currently, it only works in English. but they've been announcing for a few months that it should change in 2024, and they should add a lot more languages. So we're reaching the end of 2024, so fingers crossed that should change in a little while. Second thing I wanted to talk about in transcripts is that right now we don't have a way to actually store the transcripts in Dust, but it's going to show up in the next few weeks. You're going to be able to here have a, okay, let me actually change to the actual Dust workspace, I think, which has it. No, okay, we removed it. But basically, you will be able to store your transcripts in Dust so that you'll be able to have assistants just talk to your transcripts to say, oh, well, what did I say to that customer the last time I talked to them? So you're going to be able to build on the knowledge of your meetings pretty soon as well. All right, do we have any other questions on transcripts? Looks like no. Pulling back the poll for one last integration. Okay, Salesforce, HubSpot. That's a different type of breed for integrations because that's a lot more custom. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so we're going back to that Dust Labs GitHub repository. And here you can see that we have a lot of different integrations that we can talk about. So we've talked about Spreadsheet. We can talk about Mojo, which is also importing transcripts. So let's say we want to talk about Salesforce. So here it gets a little bit more technical for now because we don't have a connection to Salesforce, but it's going to likely be happening soon. We're right now, if you have any insight on what you would want to import and how you would want a Dust to Salesforce connection, we're really open to discussion right now. We're doing a discovery on how to import the right data from Salesforce. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have any insight on that, on what you would want to build in your company regarding Salesforce. But what's happening right now is that we've got an import script that allows you to import data from Salesforce. And what it does, it's a simple account summary. So it's importing things like that in Salesforce, which is an account summary with company name, number of employees, website, locations, etc., key contacts, open opportunities, account health, etc., etc. You just run that every day, for example, and you're going to import everything that changed every 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, everything that was updated in your Salesforce, etc., you can just what we call upsert it in Dust. So upsert means update or insert. So if we don't have it yet, you just insert a new account. If we already have it, you just update it. That's pretty much automatic. As soon as you run the script, it's going to recognize the account ID and decide to insert it or add it. Okay, so now I can do something like this. I come to Dust and I go in my knowledge base. I can see here in my folders that I've got my Salesforce account. So that's pretty much what I just showed you. The script has run. And if I want to view the contents of my account, so here I see I have a Salesforce content, which doesn't have a lot of stuff. Let's try to find one that has a little bit more data. Well, we don't have a lot of data actually. Looks like. Okay, there we go. This one has a lot more data. So this one is called Burlington Textiles. So here, what I did is that I created an assistant that is called Sales Account Summary. So it has some instructions about basically creating an account summary depending on the account summaries that I have in my folder. So instructions, data source, fairly simple. I've got meeting. Well, that's way too many data sources. I'm just going to remove that. Oh, okay, no. So we've got meeting notes. So it might be coming from the actual meeting notes from my customers. Then I have, what do I have else? What else do I have? Well, Slack has nothing, and then we've got the Salesforce accounts that are plugged in as well. So basically, this assistant is pulling data from our meeting notes and from Salesforce to be able to make an account summary. So I'm going to call it with Burlington Textiles, and we'll see what it's getting back. So we can see here the same thing that early on in the webinar, that we have assistant thoughts and it's talking a lot. So you can see that it's based on Claude and not on GPT. All right, so it's still searching. There we go. So now we've got the full account summary of this Salesforce account. So you can say the annual revenue, etc. Basically, everything we asked for in the instructions are going to be added in there. The sad part here is that it didn't find anything in the Google Drive meeting notes, because I don't remember which which company we have in the meeting notes that might do something about it. Let's say let's try again. I think we have sales account summary, express logistics. I think we have some data on there. So yeah, basically, just to come back to this, the Salesforce integration for now is mostly an import script, and it works the same for HubSpot. But we'll be making an actual connection in the near future. All right, let's see if it got data. No, okay, still the same. If I actually, it tells me where it gets the data from, which is the little side note here. And if I click on it, I end up in Salesforce. So I can actually go see the account pretty fast. Basically, when Dust answers, it always gives you footnotes to tell you where it found the information. Okay, well, that's well, it's 10:49. Let's just pick the last 5 minutes to go to Zendesk, which is the next one in the poll. So in Zendesk, whenever you have, we've got two different ways of interacting with Zendesk. One way is to import Zendesk data to Dust, which is exactly the same thing that I showed with Salesforce. You're going to import the tickets, and then your assistants are going to be able to answer from the tickets content. And the second way, which I'll take a few minutes to show right now, is to have Dust inside of Zendesk. So basically, this is a Zendesk support center, and whenever you have Dust installed in your Zendesk support center, you're going to see it on the right side here, and you're going to be able to pick an assistant. So here is when you install the Zendesk Dust app on Zendesk, you're going to be able to limit the assistants that your agents are going to be able to talk to, because you don't want them to be able to talk to your Salesforce account summary or whatever. Well, actually, here it is. But you're not going to be able to want them to dig data from other teams or whatever. So basically here I've got 6 different assistants. One is to summarize the ticket. One is doing a web search. One is Zendesk Genius, so it has the content of other tickets. So if I want to ask it, do we have any similar tickets? We'll see what Zendesk Genius is going to ask, is going to answer. And in the same time, I can say, okay, who I'm going to ask web search, who is this customer? So there we go. Zendesk Genius has answered. So we've got a few similar tickets. This is ticket number 10. So this is the one we're talking about. Ticket number 15, ticket number 19. So this is basically what the Zendesk AI is currently able to be doing. They can, well, that's the limited section, which is talk to Zendesk and see if we have something similar. But the good thing with Dust is that you can also chain your assistants and start asking for something else, which is search online and who's this guy. So there we go. We've got information about this person. This is definitely a fake news because this is a test demo account with sample tickets from Zendesk. So I don't think these people are real. So it found somebody online. There's a LinkedIn profile and stuff like that. So yeah, you can actually use it as an internal note, for example, to make sure that you keep somewhere that this customer is important. There's a lot of stuff you can do with that. You can also ask your own documentation to make sure you craft an answer that's already pretty much ready to go. Basically, the goal of this integration is to make your agents being able to rush to the right answer as fast as possible without leaving Zendesk. And so we're going to be releasing in the next few weeks or month a Dust Chrome extension that's going to be able to do basically the same thing, but everywhere. The goal is to be able to have your tab context, the current tab you're on, with Dust attached to it, so you can ask questions about your tab to your Dust assistant. So you can still do RAG, you can still do web search, etc., but on your current context. All right, we're reaching the end. Let me see if there are a few more questions. Are you planning other Dust apps like this for other applications? So, well, the Dust extension is the main one, but if we have, come back to me, Adam, if you have any other ideas about other integrations, because we're looking at, maybe Jira, maybe Salesforce, maybe Intercom. We're looking at where an extension, well, an actual integration inside of the tools might be the best to build. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. Pauline was talking about a Slack community. If if you have a will to join a Slack community to share how you build with Dust, I think she shared the way to join it. Front. So maybe Front. We'll take a look at Front. Definitely, we know them quite well because we have some old Front employees that joined Dust. So we'll see if there's something to do around it. Thank you very much. I'll just hang around for if there's another question, but that's pretty much it on our side. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. This video is going to be available as a recording if you want to share it to your coworkers. Don't hesitate again to reach out, and community.dust.tt. We're here to answer all of your questions and make sure your journey works well with us. Thank you very much, guys, and see you around.